Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's January 24th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I apologize about yesterday's chart lesson. I do not know what happened to the sound. I think the battery died on my wireless headphones, and normally it gives a little beep or warning, and I heard a beep, but usually it gives me 10 or 15 minutes after that before it actually goes dead, and maybe this time it just died on me. It's the only thing I can assume happened, so I apologize. I didn't have time to go back and redo the video. The trades were still there. You could at least see them, but I did not get a chance to talk about them. But anyway, yesterday was glitch day with me. We had some glitches with an update on the website that messed up the login. So if you had problems finding the login yesterday, that was due to an update, a glitch in one of the updates we did, and so it was just one of those days. So I apologize, but anyway, we're back on track today. Hopefully, we'll have good audio and volume today, and the quality of video will be. That was what was weird about it. Even the video was kind of off. It was like the screen was off centered. So I'm not really sure what happened. Maybe it was something to do with my computer because my computer just did an update. Uh, the night before as well. So I have my computer set where it does all its updates over the weekend so it doesn't interfere. And with yesterday being Monday, it did do an update over the weekend, and maybe that update had something to do with it. I'm not sure. But I'll check the video a little closer today before I upload it just to be sure that I don't upload a mess like we did yesterday. So again, sorry, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Most of the time, most of the videos are there and viewable, and occasionally I drop the ball on one. But anyway, let's move on. You can see the daily chart here. We're still finding resistance along this dashed line, which is the center of this larger two-tiered channel here. And so there's strong resistance across there. And we did get the measured move in, and then we had today was just an inside bar that really was a range type day. We did close near the high of this range, but you can see we're already sold off significantly. Well, I shouldn't say significantly, but we sold off a good bit, and we're back in the middle of that range. So generally, this early overnight usually still corresponds to the day before, but it'll change as the night wears on. But we'll see. It's still, I mean, this just doesn't really change a whole lot. We're just still kind of stuck going sideways here, right back at the same place. We did make a new high on this one day here, and even today made a higher high than what we were seeing across here. But this is still, and this bar is actually inside today's bar so far. Obviously, that may change because you're not going to see, excuse me, you're not going to see a lot of movement during the overnight. I mean, that's actually a pretty good bit of movement for overnight so far. So we'll see what's going to happen here. It's hard to say. Looks like we're just kind of still chopping sideways to me. But anyway, let's flip over to the intraday chart, and you can see the range, and you can kind of see how it plays out. Pretty much mirrors this bar here. So, okay, here's a look at it, and these kind of days are hard to trade. When you get a range where the highs are and the lows are not consistent, and you can see there's really kind of a, I mean, we were kind of trending up here and then went sideways, but we continued to kind of have an upward bias until 2:30, and then this thing came back. It looked like it was going to sell off, and then suddenly it rallied again. And you got these two, pretty close to two measured legs up in the late afternoon. Actually, it was a little more than two measured legs up. So, but anyway, mostly sideways. And this is a hard range to trade because when it turns down consistently off this line every time and it turns up consistently off this line every time, it's almost a no-brainer, a gimme type day. But when you're really have all this mixed trading with, look how all these lows are at different places every time where it turns at, it's just hard to trade. Same thing with the highs. They were a little more consistent, but not much. So these are hard ranges to trade. And you can see from really 10 o'clock on, I think I have two trades marked here. and they're both with little short-term trends. I marked some green ones in there just because I figure people will ask about them, and you could up. There's probably some other greens in here. People always send me, well, you didn't even mention this trade. Well, if I didn't mention it, it probably wasn't a good setup. Um, if there's a good setup, I'm going to mark it. I'm going to talk about it. Um, so if I didn't talk about it, it's not a great setup. And there, I got the wrong bar in place, wrong arrow. But there's a few trades early on, and then it just got kind of quiet. This afternoon was really difficult. But let's zoom in. We'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. Now, this blue square, I'm not even sure what this flash services PMI is. I don't remember seeing that before. I'm sure it's been there, but I don't remember seeing it before. But it was high and it was red. And PMI, usually these PMI things you do want to, they're usually economic based, so you want to pay attention to them the way the economy is lately, because it can definitely affect the news. So I blocked that off from 8:30 to about 8:50. So about 20 minutes there. It didn't really affect the market. There's a little bit jumping in there. You can see it affected a little bit. Not much though. Not anything that probably wasn't tradable. But I marked that off just to be careful with it. So just be flat going into that and give it time to settle down. But it didn't take long today, really. But just be aware of these news items, especially if they're red lately in economic. This PMI is for Purchasing Management Index or something, Purchasing Managers Index. It's like a private industry kind of survey of economic, how the economy's doing, economic growth. Again, I've never heard this flash services, so I don't know if that's something new or if I've just never noticed it. There's some different PMI news items that'll pop up from time to time, but if they're red, pay attention to them. But anyway, let's get to the trades here. 7 o'clock came through this sideways stuff. There's nothing in there. There's no way to trade. There's a nice drop off there. No way to trade it. And then we're just going sideways again. Here we at least do with the trend. Notice the trend's down. We do get a breakout and a chance to go short there at the highs. And you can see we tried to go high 3 times. It is a little bit congested. So for that reason, I marked it green. But it's a breakout of this range. It wouldn't be uncommon to try to get another leg down after the break of this khaki channel. So maybe you take that trade. There's another one here, but it made a higher high after a failed breakout. That's a little dangerous. I think you got to wait on something better than that. And then that takes us into the news item. And there's just nothing to trade to go long there. But notice the break and a few moves up to a new high. And there's actually a second entry short. Notice there's a new low there. And you get a first entry and then second entry. And it's a fairly bearish bar way away from the EMA. So I like that one. You have to wait for this bar to close. And just you can't. This one didn't break higher first, so it's not like an engulfing bar. If it did, maybe you traded on the engulfing bar, but I'd wait for this to close. Make sure it closes bearish, and due to the fact that it's a second entry, I'd probably take that trade. And that turns out to be the trade. If you get this one trade and catch a runner on this, it's probably all you need. You're probably done for the day. So as bad as the day was, there's a couple of moves here that set up some fairly decent trades, and if you catch them, that's probably all you need. I mean, if you look at this and you just take this to the first bar that breaks higher, well, that's almost 9 points. And if you take it to the first bar that breaks higher after a bar that closes out, well, there's 12 points on a single contract. I mean, if you can catch one like that, you're in pretty good shape. And you probably don't even need anything else for the day. But this tight channel runs down. You get a close outside. It moves to this low and bounces. This one is tempting. And you might have taken that trade. It is a triple test. I didn't mark it because it's just one leg down. It didn't go very far, but it does bounce across there. It is a good bar. It is the overnight low, and it is a triple test. So if you took that trade, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I felt you needed to get another bounce after this, having this uh, uh, just one leg down here, because a lot of times you'll get two legs down. But you are a long way away from the EMA as well. So if you took that trade, I mean, that's even close to being blue. But I just was a little weary about it because that is a very strong sell-off, and a lot of times you'll get two legs down, which you do end up getting two legs down here. It just takes a, it just didn't, it just wasn't a perfect two-legged move. You had a leg down, then a two-legged correction, then another bigger leg down. So anyway, when you get this triple test here and a second entry short right off the EMA, I like going short there. And you're not expecting it to really run and break all the way down to a new low. You just have plenty of room there for it to run down and test those lows again. And if it bounces again, maybe you think about going long, but it just keeps going and then it reverses. There's no setup here really to go long. There's a higher low here, but that's moved a long way to trade as a higher low, and it's right into this resistance, so that makes it a problem. And you can see it does come back and test that a few times. If this bar would have come on down and tested it again and ended bullish and not so sideways, which each one of these are inside. Notice it makes this bar, then it's an inside bar. Let me make it a little bigger. And then another inside bar. That's congestion. Not a good sign to be going long on. Yeah, it breaks higher and takes off, but you just can't go with that. So, and I don't know why that I had this blue bar up here a minute ago. I changed it to red. I thought there was a short here. I don't know if I just accidentally set a blue arrow in there by accident or what I did. I think it was actually supposed to be here, maybe. Yeah, that's got to be where it was. I don't know. I don't know why I had a blue bar sitting there. But maybe it was supposed to be red right there. So anyway, I don't know. There's no trade over here. Runs, you got to break higher here, but right into the EMA. Yeah, it shoots on through. There's not a good signal bar anyway. And then it breaks higher here. Now there's a failure right there. Notice you running down first entry, you make a second leg down second entry. So when that fails right there, it's probably going to trap some people. That's a quick, easy move. And this is just chopping sideways. There's really, I didn't draw it, but there's somewhat of a range here. However you want to draw it, and you get this breakout, and then you get a lower high here, a little ways away from the EMA, which will probably means you're going to fail on this breakout. And so I like going short there. And it's also, there's a new low there, and it's also a second entry short. Runs down, then it fails out the low side. I think you need at least a higher low here, and I don't like, that's too congested, and then it runs up. But now you get a second entry up here. Notice a new high. First entry, pull back second entry. It's a little sideways, but it's still two legs back to the EMA, the trend line. Plus, look how many times it tests that midline of the range. That means it's probably going to go higher. And you can see after that triple test, boom, off it goes. Comes back here, just a first entry. And here again, you get another failure at the high side. So you would expect prices to maybe rocket on down, but this is where they kind of get stuck going sideways. But notice that's a new swing high there. It's basically a double top is the way I'm looking at that. And so leg down, first entry, leg down, second entry, fails, break below theirs. It doesn't get much, and you can see here it doesn't get much. It's not a perfect reversal type pattern, but it's close enough, and it does work as a trap. It's a quick, easy scalp, but you don't get anything more, and then it bounces. It's tempting when it comes back up. You can see that makes a little two-bar matching high there, and notice it runs up. First entry, second entry. And you do get a break and a new high, but it could be It could be that it's more like this, and you won't know unless it till it bounces here. Um, so it does look like a good second entry to me, and it is a triple test across there. So it's another one that I didn't mark that you could at least call it green, and it's close. I mean, you might take that trade. Uh, we run down, and this one's kind of convoluted. There's a first entry, and then it turns back up, and so when it breaks below that red bar, it's a second entry short. And so that's why I marked that one. I marked it green because it is a little congested. There is support there, but it is a failed break higher as well, and we are coming off this high, and the previous lows are a little further down. So maybe you take that trade. Again, you see it's only, I think there's 2 points there or something like that. I mean, there's more than enough to get out, but not much more. And you see there's 2 points there. And so it makes it a little convoluted. Then there's a little second entry swap, but we're still kind of below the EMA there and expecting prices to go lower. And then it comes back up here again and gives you another second entry with another big bearish bar. Notice the new low, first entry. So when it breaks lower there, it's a second entry. And it's a little bit of a repeat pattern of wherever the other one was. Well, it's a repeat pattern of that one. And there was another one over here somewhere else similar to it. I think it was right in here, second entry. So it's like a repeat pattern, and that's one reason I liked it. It's still a little aggressive though. It runs on down, makes a pretty good move down, and just reverses. Really what this is just a failed breakout. It's a two-legged move with the little range in the middle. This is really kind of range bound. You can see that there. So, and then it bounces. And so there's, with that trend line being there and that being the first close outside, I'm a little leery of that one, but you could argue for that one to be green. I mean, there's a bunch of them. This is hard trading here, and you got to be real careful because you'll get chopped to pieces. So just be careful with this. And you can see we're still just chopping along here, but we're coming down. You get a close outside. There's a couple of legs up. There's really a little trend channel here that gets a break, move to a new high, and turns down. Plus, there's a 1, 2, 3 triple test. I don't know that I'll wait to go short way down here, but this broke higher first and then turned down, so maybe you trade that one as an engulfing bar. There may still be enough room down here, but it's real close. It's just enough room to get out. 6 ticks, and that's what it takes on a 4-tick scalp. So, and of course you got your new low. Very similar to this one over here. You break down your new low after the channel. Maybe you take that back to the upper side. But then there's also a first entry, second entry, and another triple test. We kind of pull back once, twice, 3 times there. So it's another triple test, plus that you could call it a failure. So maybe you take that trade. Again, it's not perfect, but it's there. And that turns out to be, I don't think you get a runner on this. So, but if depending on how you played it, if you did get a runner, if you played the engulfing bar and maybe got a little better entry, maybe you get lucky there and you get a little bit of movement out of that. Runs up here to the highs again, and then next thing you know, we're coming, no way to trade that short up there, no decent setup. And then you're just chopping through this, no setups in there. Don't attempt anything in that. It does break higher, and then it's chopping sideways again. There's just nothing. I mean, it's just too much sideways stuff here and no decent setup. So I don't see anything there that I would want to trade. So, and that's how I saw it today. Again, early on, there's a few trades here, but it was sparse in the afternoon. So hard to trade this stuff right here. You can get, if you're not careful, you'll get chopped to pieces. So if you take a trade in here and you do get chopped up, Sometimes it's just best to close up and go home on days like this because it's not worth risking multiple losses trying to get back your first loss because generally you just run into more losses. So I don't have a good lot of. There's not a lot of good advice. There's not a lot of. It's no easy way to trade this. Uh, just all you can do is follow the rules and hope for the best. And even then, sometimes you'll get tripped up. So just keep that in mind. But there's a little wider, higher level picture of it. You can see the whole day, and you can see we pretty much had this big sell-off here after the hours. So anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll